My name is Kayla Knoll, and I will be discussing cooperative learning. And more specifically, I will be discussing the use of literature circles, a form of cooperative learning that can be implemented in a variety of subjects and grade levels. Cooperative learning can be defined as an instructional technique in which students of mixed abilities work together as a team on an assigned task. Interdependence and support for all members of the group is stressed. It also allows for mixed ability small groups to focus on both academic and social skills while working together. Cooperative learning can be used across subject matters in many different ways. The foundation of all cooperative learning practices are rooted in students working together and supporting each other in their learning. There are so many different examples of cooperative learning in the classroom, but I will be discussing the use of cooperative learning through literary circles. Literature circles were first used in 1994 by Harvey Daniels. His model had students choosing their own reading materials and forming small groups based on their book selections. The students would then take class time to discuss their books in their groups. The discussions were 100% student-driven. Once the books and discussion times were completed, the students would create presentations on their books for the rest of the class. After this, the group picks a new book to read and the cycle repeats. During this time, the role of the teacher is to be a facilitator. They are not directly involved in the discussions, but make sure groups are on task and discussing. Daniels claimed that the key ingredient of literature circles is the use of defined roles to facilitate and guide students as they work in their literature groups. Today, literature circles still tend to be structured similarly to the way that they were in 1994. Following these steps will provide a basic way to implement a literature circle in the classroom. To start, you should select text for your students to choose from. The text chosen should reflect the subject area and reading levels of your students. Because literary circles can work in a multitude of subjects and grade levels, the materials chosen will look different and reflect the students that you're teaching. Next, roles for each group should be decided. An example of roles for the group could be a director that creates questions for the group and helps keep the group on task, a passage master who looks for key passages in a text, a character sketcher who picks out the main characters and draws them, a word wizard who finds and writes down the new words and keywords in the text, and a connector who makes connections from the text to the students' lives. These are just a few examples of the roles that can be selected. The roles can be adjusted to fit the needs of students in the groups and to best fit the lesson and subject the groups will be working in. After all of this is decided, students should be allowed to choose the books they want to read and will be broken into groups based on their selections. Once the groups are assigned, the roles should be explained and assigned as well. Each of the roles should be modeled for the students prior to breaking into their groups, so they will be prepared to play their roles independently in their own groups. Making sure that everyone understands all of the roles will help students know what to expect from their peers once they are broken up into their own groups. Once expectations for the groups are made clear, passages for each book can be assigned for homework, and students can expect to work in their groups during the next class time. After assigned passages have been read, students will spend class time meeting with their groups and discussing their books. The assigned roles will help to guide students through the discussion. To further aid in guiding the conversations and keeping students on task, worksheets can also be made for each role to make sure each student is playing their part and staying on task. Literature circles encourage natural conversations about the text versus structured and planned conversations that may be less genuine and thought-provoking. Making sure students are on task is important, and as the educator you should be monitoring and intervening if necessary, but students should be sharing their thoughts and having their own conversations about the text. After the first assignment and discussion is completed, the roles can be shifted to different students within the groups for the next assignment. Hallett-Karate's research papers study the effects of literature circles on text analysis and reading desires. This study focused on a class of 92 third-year students in a Department of Turkish Education. I want to note that despite this study focusing at a collegiate level, the success of literature circles can be seen at any grade level. They found that literature circles contributed to student reading comprehension ability in 6 different areas, which are as follows: text analysis skills, social learning atmosphere, ability to read text critically, independent reading desires, speaking ability and self-confidence, and development of tolerance towards cultural and socioeconomic differences. They found that literature circles were effective in improving text analysis skills and finding themes, main ideas, and keywords in text. Students noted that the groups helped them to develop their skills of interpersonal communications, critical reading, and book reviewing. They also found that literature circles increase reading motivation as it activates a desire for participation in discussions and stating their opinions socially. The groups were also helpful in developing tolerance and communication in cultural and socioeconomic differences. One of the most important parts of the study was that the researchers took the students' opinion into consideration. In this case, they found that the students really enjoyed the literature groups as it supported their reading in their classes and made the class more enjoyable. Luis Javier Penton Herrera and Tabitha Kidwell cited several instances in which literature circles have been used successfully. This included working with bilingual first graders, middle schoolers, students in content area specific courses, and in adult learners. This article discusses ways that literature circles can bring in different languages and technology that is used in the classroom to enhance what students are learning in their groups by changing the roles that students play in their groups. Implementing technology into the classroom and into literature circles can allow for culturally and linguistically diverse interactions and discussions among students. They believe literature circles are beneficial by providing opportunities for students to direct the focus of their discussions. The use of literature circles gives students space to enact literacy practices from their communities, offers validation for those practices, and allows students to build on those literacy practices to continue to develop literacy skills. They suggest implementing digital evaluation tools also to make sure everyone in the group is staying on task and contributing. Not mentioned in this article, but could also be a great way to connect students to different cultures, languages, and to the text would be to have text on tablets or laptops that are written in 2 different languages or offer translations. This could help ESL students as well. Diane and Rebecca Barnes' article adapts literature circles to nonfiction texts, or as they call them, information texts. They were able to adapt the roles of students to director, inventor, mapper, word wizard, nonfiction fact finder, and visual viewer. The roles are still similar to the roles that would be used when working with fictional texts, just altered a little bit to fit nonfiction texts a little bit better. They were able to provide options in the texts that students could choose from, and the groups functioned as normal literature circles would. In providing students with options in the text they were reading and changing their roles as readers, they were more excited about engaging with the text. By changing the roles, they found that students were able to acquire knowledge of facts and vocabulary. They were able to participate in close readings of the text and learn to support their responses with textual evidence. Literature groups are a great tool to use in the classroom for students with disabilities. Using roles like character sketcher or word wizard helps students with disabilities in developing their comprehension and vocabulary. Literature groups are also excellent facilitators for students to interact with each other and improve their social skills. Literature groups bring students of all abilities and reading levels to work together and interact with one another. Most importantly, literature groups can easily be altered to fit the needs of any student with any level of ability. The adaptability makes this particular evidence-based practice effective for students with disabilities.